And I want to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us today. You are here for Literacy in the Workplace, Building Sustainable Futures Through Meaningful Partnerships. And we want to give a special thank you to all of our sponsors for making professional development just like this one possible. So Wisconsin Literacy is proud to have 80 literacy organizations from across the state partnering with us as we are a statewide nonprofit literacy coalition. Together, we are changing lives by strengthening literacy in communities all around the state. And we do this through health, digital, and workforce literacy programs, collaboration, advocacy efforts, and lots of professional development just like this one. We are proud to create a more equitable and literate Wisconsin. So a couple of housekeeping items is, as you've probably seen already, this session is being recorded. Please do keep yourself muted, except when you have questions so that we can keep down the background noise. And if you do have any questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat and we will address them mostly at the end of the session. Now I would like to introduce our speakers. So we have three speakers with us today from Oshkosh. We have first Dr. Chu Peng Pei Main. I'm sorry, Dr. Chu Mei Peng. There we go. She serves as the executive director at Winnebago Area Literacy Council, a first-generation immigrant herself from Myanmar. Dr. Chu brings lived experience and deep insight into how language and literacy shape the immigrant experience. Prior to becoming the executive director, she served on the board of directors at the Winnebago Area Literacy Council and volunteers as a tutor. Emma Eden is the education programs coordinator at the Winnebago Area Literacy Council and teaches at their workplace literacy program at AMCOR Oshkosh North. Emma holds her degree and teaching certifications from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. She has experience working in the school systems in Wausau, Milwaukee, Oshkosh, as well as Taiwan. In addition to instruction, Emma is experienced in case management and writing curricula for language learners. And finally, we have Diana Hernandez, who serves as the human resource generalist at AMCOR Oshkosh North. She maintains a strong partnership with the Winnebago Area Literacy Council, coordinating on-site English classes that help AMCOR employees strengthen their language skills and succeed in the manufacturing environment. As a first-generation student and bilingual professional, Diana brings a valuable perspective to her work as well. So thank you to all three of you and welcome.
Yes, I will go ahead and start here. Thank you again. Thank you to Wisconsin Literacy for having us part of the Winter Virtual Conference, and thank you to Robin for the introduction. Yes, thank you, Emma, for moving to the next slide. So I'll open up with a bit of an introduction to the Winnebago Area Literacy Council. So we are a member organization of the Wisconsin Literacy, based in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and serving the broader Winnebago area. And our mission is to strengthen communities by eliminating literacy barriers through learner-centered programs, advocacy, and career development support. And our vision is, of course, with these programmings, community outreach, and partnerships, the Winnebago Area Literacy Council, we ensure every person has the literacy skills to thrive. And in every programs and every work that we do, we uphold these values, right? We uphold collaboration. Emma, sorry, yeah. We uphold the collaborations, equal access, learning, resilience, and respect. And hopefully they are reflected in our work that the community partnership that we will share today. Yes, next slide. Next slide, yeah. Yes, so before we began, we thought that we wanted to kind of get a sense of the, idea from our audience and community members. What do you believe is your biggest kind of challenge or barrier, or maybe question that you have around workplace literacy? So, we offer a variety of programmings, but today we'll be talking more about the workplace literacy. So if you have any questions in mind already, or you already have a workplace literacy program, but you're having some kind of challenge, please feel free to put that in the chat right now, and we will come back to those questions towards the end of our presentation. Yes, so please go ahead and type that in the chat. And Emma, I will move on to the next slide. Yes, so for Winnebago Area Literacy Council, right? Why does the workplace literacy matter for us? So for us, we believe strong literacy means the safer and more efficient workplaces. I feel like I'm going to be preaching to the choir here. And we believe that also the literacy in the workplace supports communication, problem solving, and also the teamwork. And it also helped build confidence among the learners. And also, as you will hear later throughout the presentation, it also provide opportunities for career mobilities for the employees as well. So it is a win-win situation between both the workers, employers, and also, we're kind of like the literacy council that are participating in this partnership and helping us, helping develop the curriculum. Yes, Emma, next slide. So now kind of focusing more into our community partnership with the AMCO Oshkosh North, we wanted to kind of give a bit of a basic information about how this partnership has been going on. So we started our AMCO partnership with the AMCO Oshkosh North plan specifically in November of 2023, actually. So that was when we started our communication between us and the AMCO Oshkosh North. So actually, it was even before my time that I became the executive director, and also Emma's time. So, we're happy to answer how that conversation came to this, really sustainable partnership. Then by the October of 2024, we're able to then start classes at the AMCO Oshkosh North plant. And then by February 2025, we onboarded Emma Ident, who is our new education programs coordinator, who helped develop this very kind of specialized and personalized curriculum, working together with Diana and other HR supervisors. And then by now, right, like January 2026 is today where we are using this new curriculum, working very closely with Diana. And also we have seen a significant improvement in our assessment. We'll be sharing those results later. Emma will be sharing that. And our shared goal between AMCO Oshkosh North and Winnebago Area Literacy Council is we want to support the employees with their skill development across 4 domains in the language literacy. But we also want to make sure that they have, access to the workforce relevant literacy instruction on site, because that is the biggest challenge for the learners, right? Once they started getting a job or going to work, they see that we see that they are not able to come to our general programming on site. So that's why this partnership is particularly special, that our learners in this program are able to also go to work, but then also go to class at work, right? So that's the kind of model. And our partnership is also, I want to note, it has become a contractor service. So we're working closely with Diana and other HR supervisors to, we're able to offer that kind of as develop that as a partnership, as a contractor service. Yeah. Emma, if you want to go to the next slide. If anybody has any questions about that later, I'll be happy to chat more. And now I'm going to hand over the floor to Diana Hernandez from AMCO Oshkosh North. Yes.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Chu. So as Robin mentioned, my name is Diana Hernandez. I work as an HR generalist over with Amcor at our Oshkosh North location. So just to give you an idea of what Amcor exactly does, you might have heard the name. We are very local in the Oshkosh area, Fox City area. So basically what we do is we make flexible plastic packaging. So when you're walking down a grocery store aisle, anything that comes in a flexible plastic bag, we probably produce at one of our plant locations. So it could be be anything ranging from frozen food bags, true fruit bags, towel and tissue plastic wrap, even dog and cat food bags as well. So just to give you an idea, we are a large scale producer of plastic packaging. So with manufacturing, there tends to typically come a high turnover rate for a variety of different reasons, right? It's a very competitive field. So a lot of the companies that work in manufacturing are constantly having to think of a new and creative way to really retain our current employees so we can lower that turnover rate. So as we continue to search for people to fill our vacancies, we realized that a lot of the candidate pools that we were working with were filled with non-English speaking employees. A lot of these candidates had the skill set that we were looking for, right? They either have operated in the past, whether it be in the US or in their home country, or it may even go as far as them having a technical degree, for example, in engineering, that would be really beneficial to have here in Amcor. So, however, even though they had the skill set we were looking for, of course, they were not able to communicate in English 100%. So we identified this gap in the candidate pool as we were looking for people to fill our roles. So as a company, we really need to put the safety of our employees first above everything else. So we thought long and hard about what it would look like and what gaps we would come across if we were to hire these candidates who were non-English speaking. Ultimately, the concern, of course, was going to be that communication gap, right? So we needed to make sure that every single employee can communicate with one another in some fashion in order to keep everyone safe. We are working with heavy machinery. It can be loud, it can be chaotic. So safety and communication is going to be our number one. So with this problem in mind, we focused directly on what we as a company could do in order to help bridge that gap. So this is definitely the area and the time where we identified that the solution to potentially helping with the communication with these candidates would be to provide it to them on site, where we could really ensure that they would be provided with the content to help them succeed in a manufacturing work area. So this is really where the idea of offering on-site English classes was born. And once we started talking about it, we knew that we would need to ensure that others who had the final approval on the green light to go ahead with this program, such as plant managers and directors, felt the same way that we did. If you want to go to the next slide, Emma. So to really drive the stakeholder buy-in is what I call it. There are 4 different areas that we focused on to really sell this program to our plant manager, directors, and supervisors and managers. So, of course, the first selling point was that having on-site English classes would help attract new talent, right? Amcor has a lot of great benefits to offer when we look at our total rewards package that we have for employees. So we're always looking for ways to try to differentiate ourselves in the market. So being able to include on-site English classes as a benefit to candidates really helps us differentiate ourselves from other competitors and can put Amcor at the top of people's lists. The second selling point was the retainment of current employees. So if we were to offer this benefit, our current non-English speaking employees are able to see the value of our investment in them. So they choose to stay with Amcor versus seeking employment somewhere else. The third selling point is surrounding career development. So as the English classes got established, the goal is to really create developmental opportunities for our non-English employees as they start to feel more confident in their English speaking abilities. So really moving from those assistant or entry-level roles to something like an operator level. And then the last but most important selling point is really going to be that of safety. So in offering these on-site classes, our employees are able to bridge that communication gap with their English-speaking colleagues, and together we create a working environment where everyone feels truly safe. So with all of these points, the stakeholder buy-in really remains strong today. Our plant general manager, department managers, supervisors all remain in support of the English classes due to the large impacts they're having and the benefits that they provide to our non-English speaking employees. The support is so much so that we actually plan production around English classes to ensure our employees are able to attend these classes without there being a major strain surrounding production shutdowns. All right, next slide. So after selling the program to the people who really needed to be involved with the approval of it, that is really where the partnership started with Amcor and the Winnebago Area Literacy Center. So Amcor decided to work with this center versus other options just due to the flexibility of the program in regards to content creation and scheduling, along with the fact that we get to partner with a local program that's really close to our facility and provide the classes on site on the facility as well. We are in our second year of working together, and we continue to meet periodically to reflect and assess the program and to be adaptable to what the needs of the employees and the company are. Currently, today, we have about 55 to 70 employees who attend these classes, coming from at least 4 different languages as well. All right, next slide. So you'll hear Emma discuss a lot on what the Winnebago Area Literacy Center provides into this program and what their role is, but I want to tell you quickly what the role of AMCOR is so you can get a clear vision of the partnership too. So AMCOR provides a learning space and scheduling support for these classes. So classes are held on site in one of our bigger conference rooms in the facility. And we actually do require that all of our non-English speaking employees attend the classes once a week. And they get to attend either during the last hour of their shift or during the first hour of their shift. So they actually do get paid to attend these classes as well. And it's worked into their schedule. So there's no added time into that. We encourage employee participation. So as I mentioned, this starts with the support of allowing our employees to leave 1 hour of their 12-hour shift to attend these classes. Share workplace vocabulary and other applicable information for authentic instruction. So we collaborate with our supervisors and managers to compile relevant terms, phrases, images, discussions surrounding manufacturing related content to be applied in the classroom so it can be easily transferred to their work. So it's definitely a two-way partnership. You know, Emma and the program facilitators can only teach so much if they're not aware of what they want us to have our employees learn. So sending content over to them as we receive it so they can include it into their curriculum. And then lastly, through all of this and more, AMCOR is committed to fostering a workplace where every team member can really unpack their potential and grow, which is why the program is so important and special to us today. Perfect. I'll hand it over to Emma. Emma, I think you're on mute, just FYI.
Yes. Chu, were you going to mention on this slide?
Oh, sure. Yes, I can mention this. We kind of go a little bit back and forth here, but yes, Diana mentioned the role of AMCOR. So the role of the Winnebago Area Literacy Council is we develop curriculum and instructional materials and resources. So these curriculum are a little bit different from our general ESL classes because, like Diana mentioned, there are specific information and materials that they want us to develop so that the learners in this program has practice speaking or doing some exercise. So that's what we do. And we also provide 2 teaching staff on site at the AMCOR Oshkosh North plant. And each teacher then work with 2 different groups. They kind of are loosely divided into based on their proficiency level. And Emma is one of them. And then we also do our quarterly kind of assessment and progress tracking, and we report that to and share that with Diana. And then those reports are also shared in their AMCOR quarterly meetings and etc., so that they can also celebrate their employees, right? And in fact, we actually win from Wisconsin Literacy at I believe, the summer conference. We win the Outstanding Achievement in Workforce Development Award for seeing an almost 29% increase in the reading scores from the first assessment to our second assessment. So that is a huge celebration to celebrate the learners, right? And then we do we offer our ongoing program evaluations and improvement. Yes. Great.
All right. So, oops, sorry. Just gotta get, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the teaching role now. So I have a little bit of a unique role with this whole program because I am the education programs coordinator. So I design all of the curriculum, but then I also get the pleasure of teaching this class. So kind of what we do here, so curriculum adaptation to meet workplace needs. So I take a look at kind of the curriculum that I've already developed and see how can we take this and make it so it's going to be more appropriate for the workplace. We do a more direct instruction with learner support. So what this can look like is sometimes we do have our smaller groups. I will talk about that a little bit more. And then sometimes we do teach as a whole group because then this allows for mixed levels to kind of communicate with each other. Learners are able to kind of become the teachers to their classmates that might need a little bit more support. And then also during full group instruction time, I'm able to support different levels of participants. And I also like the whole group days because, like Diana said, sometimes the employees will come and it'll be the last hour of their workday, and some it'll be the first hour of the workday. So we'll have two different groups. And then during that time, I'm able to teach, and then our other teacher, Matt, can shadow me, and then he'll teach the second section. I like this because having two instructors not only like allows us to break us up into the small groups, but when he teaches in a whole group, it gives the learners more exposure to a variety of teaching styles, transition times, and even hearing someone else's voice. That's very valuable when we're developing our listening abilities as well. So then as far as assessment reporting and that partner communication, assessment looks like an initial diagnostic, a mid-year assessment, and then a final summative that we did right before Christmas. I will talk a little bit more about assessment later. But this, we always want to do an assessment for seeing like a baseline because then we can see obviously then the progress that comes throughout. Reporting, this looks like communicating with our partners, so in this case, AMCOR, but then we also communicate these things to our board of directors if there's any kind of updates that need to be made. I will show an example of what one of these reports look like later on in the presentation when I talk about impact. So then partner communication, like Diana mentioned, we have a monthly meeting that where we get updates on each other's goals, objectives, share things that we can celebrate, like assessment results or challenges that we're facing, and then what we can do to come together to try to resolve those things. So then our instructional approach, it is adult-centered and strength-based. So also like Diana mentioned earlier, a lot of the AMCOR employees in the class, they come from professional backgrounds in their home countries. So those that have engineering backgrounds, they might come from the military, the medical professional, or the medical profession and more. They have these incredible, valuable skills, and speaking another language, I believe, should never count somebody out from these opportunities. So when I'm designing and creating curriculum, I always try to think about what do our learners, what do these employees already know so that we can use that as a tool to learn the targeted language of English. So then looking at kind of like real workplace materials and vocabulary. So that comes from working with Diana, her giving me these factory words and vocabulary, and I have to do a lot of learning on my own part, but that's great because then I'm able to talk with the learners as well, and they can teach me these things as well. So it's a really good back and forth that I have with these classes. So then the practical and immediately applicable skills at work and in life. So then based on assessments or oh wait, sorry. Yeah, so anyway, later on, so I'm going to talk more about what the class looks like when we first started versus what it looks like now. But while the main goal has always been linked to workplace development, and that is what we want to have here, I also see it in my own very important, a main goal to be linked to the workplace development. I also see it important to discuss how these skills can support them outside of work as well. So when people feel like they can safely and confidently like navigate their work, like in their job and their community, they're more likely to like participate in class and have future investment on their own futures because it feels achievable. So I wanted to make sure that that was a piece as well. Yeah, so, and of course, always a supportive and respectful learning environment. Like we laugh, people make mistakes, they're not afraid to do those things, which I really appreciate. Okay, so here is kind of an example I wanted to show of when we have two different groups and if we want to teach kind of the same objective. So here I have an example of one of the lessons from this year we taught in our two leveled groups. For the level ones and twos, this is an example of a more of a kind of a common method that we use at the Winnebago Area Literacy Council. I call this a vocabulary builder. So this allows employees to see like real pictures of their work items and have the English words next to them. And then what we do is we cut out both pieces of paper and then they paste them next to each other. And I find that that extra added modality of physically cutting them out and pasting them really helps attach these things because you're adding an extra step instead of just kind of like repeat after me. Okay, now remember it. That's especially as we get older, language doesn't stick as well. So the more hands-on materials we can do, the better. So while we're not going to be doing as much writing with kind of my levels ones and twos for this particular lesson. We are able to incorporate speaking, reading, and listening, and so they're able to develop as well while we're talking about these things. So then looking at what Matt would be teaching during this time, that's our other teacher for this, he would be teaching more of the level threes and fours, and that would look something like this. The objective is the same. I want the learners to understand these particular vocabulary words, but because they have a little bit more of a foundational base for decoding, and they also might have a more familiar starting point with these items, they can learn these through the skill of reading. So basically, we'll get the same information, but we can kind of learn them and use the tools that they already have to make sure that they obtain this information. And a really big thing I wanted to point out as well, so anytime we're doing a vocabulary builder or a reading, and this is true across all of our programs, not just workplace, I try to make sure that if we're doing a reading, for example, the delivery of the lesson is always going to be the same, but the objective will change because I never want the learning method to be the barrier. And I find that the employees have kind of learned now what the expectations are when they get the reading. They know they're going to look at vocabulary first, define it, read about it, answer questions. They know that's the drill, so they can just focus on learning the words. Okay, so taking a look at what employees are learning. So we did kind of a then versus now. So I have been with the Winnebago Area Literacy Council for just a tiny bit over a year now. I was kind of thrown into this program. And I absolutely love it. But at the start of the program, what we were doing was kind of more of those basic English skills. So we first started by looking at some more grammar rules. So for example, like the to be verb, simple past tense, conjunctions, prepositions. So while teaching these skills, I did also want to make sure that the information that they were getting was applicable. So let's take prepositions, for example. I was able to take like prepositions of place, and we can talk about where is a tool, and we can like talk about where can we find it, and then they can learn how to say it and then learn how to kind of listen for those steps. And then prepositions of time, like understanding the importance of punctuality and how shifts work. So even if it wasn't directly like we're learning about our workplace words, we were taking these basic kind of beginning steps of English and making it applicable to them. We did some kind of reading and writing in those groups. We have general speaking and communication. So when the class first started, we had a variety of speaking topics that we introduced, such as hello and goodbye, please and thank you, you're welcome, making requests, asking for clarification, and more. So throughout these lessons, I always make sure also to incorporate how these phrases can be formal or informal. So this subtly also kind of informs those coming to American companies and business, kind of what is like proper and what is culturally expected here in the US. I never want to like I never want to say like this is the way it is, or like this is the correct way. It's more of like this is kind of the American way, but I'm never going to say that's the right way. So this is a way to kind of subtly teach those skills without, telling them that they're doing something wrong. Familiar and unknown common vocabulary building, that was a really big thing for me as well, because I saw this as an opportunity that before we started working on specific work vocabulary, I still wanted to work on vocabulary builders that could establish a baseline for more specific words later. So for example, especially with my more immersion group, that I work with, we learned important vocabulary pertaining to clothing, daily routines, skills and abilities, health problems, and getting medical attention. And now that they have that kind of base for learning, like vest and gloves, we're able to talk about the high-vis vest and now the chemical gloves. So we can build on that knowledge. Okay, and then currently we're working much more on reading and understanding actual workplace documents, writing clear notes, reports, forms, kind of still building that oral communication and teamwork language. That's something that I know I'm going to be focused a little bit more on, that speaking confidence aspect, problem solving, critical thinking, and then of course that continued safety protocol and procedure. Yeah. Okay, so here is an example of an assessment. So how do we assess? Just like the curriculum here, all of our assessments are written by me. Because I come from a traditional K-12, like I come from that traditional K-12 education world, I understood how important it was not only to measure progress of the group, but also have this be written in a way that it indicated to us, like, how can we adjust going forward? Because an assessment is only so good um, if it tells me like what I can do to help the class as well. So we measure we measure in the 4 different language domains, listening, speaking, reading, and writing, but then I also have a grammar portion. So this is going to be example of kind of like what the listening script was. This was on one of our kind of final assessments for the year. I had the employees listen to a voicemail left by an employee, and then they had to answer questions based on what that voicemail sounded like. Okay, and then here's just an example of some reading. I always make sure that even if it's not like AmCourse specific in the name, it's going to be about some kind of construction, some kind of working, so that the information that they're reading about, they have some familiarity with it. The writing section here, I wanted to mention that while these photos change every assessment, I usually try to make these sections specifically not work related, because I want to see how much the employees can kind of stretch their learning, and I want to see what vocabulary they're developing independently outside of the class, and this really helps me. I will talk a little bit more about this when we get to impact as well. But for those looking to create something similar for your organization, these types of open-ended questions also work very well for speaking assessments. And then as far as our speaking assessment, what I wanted to do for this, we wanted to make sure that employees were equipped with that language to follow companies' protocols, such as calling in sick from work and describing their role that they complete. These are great things for us to check on, because if they're not confident in doing these tasks, like for example, calling out sick, I feel like it puts them in a very vulnerable position where they feel like they can never call out because they feel like they can't, or they're going to be scared to not follow their supervisor's expectations. Well, not on our watch. So that's something that we always try to make sure that that we're good with that. Something else I wanted to mention about the assessment, because it's just kind of on a funny note, the employees will get a little bit frustrated, especially on the grammar section. I will ask them things that we didn't necessarily learn about in class, because it's a little bit more about the development. It's not outcome specific based as far as like, we're going to learn X, Y, and Z by the end of this. It's more about where did we start and where are we now? So some of them that don't get every single thing correct, they get kind of frustrated, but I tell them that's okay. It's actually fun from a saying that I used to say in the classroom that a lot of them hear me say now and have really kind of taken to heart. I always say, when we start an assessment, some questions will be easy, some questions will be hard, but we will give the same amount of effort to all of them. Okay, so then kind of the last bit here that I'm going to talk about is the early outcomes and impact. So I love kind of showing the progress that we've made with this program. So increased attendance and participation. For some that really felt like they need it, there are some employees that are definitely maybe a little bit older. And as we get older, language, like I said, it doesn't stick as well. So some of those in that really emerging group, if they're doing overtime, for example, I might see them twice in 1 week and they just want to get that extra. They're like, I just didn't fully understand this. So they come back and they kind of learn that lesson again, and then it really sticks for them. We do have improved confidence in workplace communication. I know Diana has mentioned to me that more and more employees are feeling comfortable going to speak to her, like in her office, actually speaking English rather than relying on a translator, which I love to hear. I feel like a lot of the employees as well, the classes feel very comfortable speaking with me after class about things from how can I continue to practice to they just want to tell me about what's going on at home with their kids. And I love to hear that too. We've been getting really good positive feedback from the learners and the supervisors. So this was a one-pager that I shared with AMCOR and then our board as well. As shown here, the overall satisfaction of the class is very high, a majority expressing exceptional satisfaction. I've also had employees who work as translators. So they're not in the class, but they work as translators or supervisors. They stop by to, as to quote them, they'll say, just to see what you guys do here, because they've noticed the shift in confidence and they're like, well, what the heck happens here? We want to see this. So that's been really great to see. And then strong foundation for continued skill. I see a great change in the motivation of the employees from my 1 year working with them. I really do. Many have reached out to me to see where they can continue working on their language acquisition independently. So for us, like they only see us an hour a week, and the little bit of improvement they've seen from that, a lot of them are like, oh my gosh, I want more. They see it as achievable now. So many have reached out to me to see where they can continue working on this. Since joining, I know that some have enrolled in Fox Valley Tech in the language courses, sought off private tutors, and others have even began coming to our classes here at the Winnebago Area Literacy Council. We offer a couple other great programs. I know some have started, like our Women and Children program, where mothers can receive free childcare while they get English instruction, and our special programming like our financial education workshops. So it's been great to have that partnership as well. They see that they're improving, they want more. We're here to give it to them. So love to see that. I am then going to hand it over to Chu.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. Thank you both, Diana and Emma, and also the chat has been very active, so I'm trying to respond to as much as I could. So please continue to put your questions, reflection, thoughts. We will come back to those. We're kind of getting to, wrapping things up here, but we want to emphasize again, right, why this partnership works. And we hope that even in today's presentation, you will get a sense, right? The fact that Diana is able to join us and share from her perspective through from the work employer's lens, that also means very meaningful, right? Because in order for this kind of partnership to work. I mean, we can offer workplace literacy in-house here, and people could come and learn workplace vocabulary and workforce development. That is different from where we have this kind of partnership, and it has to work from all angles. So I'm really grateful to Diana and also the AMCO Oshkosh North Plan specifically. But why does this work is because we trying to create all of us working together to make sure the learning is accessible, like creating a space, not just a physical space, but also this kind of space of learning within the workplace. And that is, again, thanks to AMCO for recognizing that need, and that reduce barriers, right? Because oftentimes, again, that is the biggest barrier for literacy councils to also go into the employers and be able to do that. And instruction is also then directly relevant to the job and to employees' personal lives, right? Yes, we right now currently have a big learners population at the AMCO Oshkosh North, but we've also had a previous workplace literacy partnership with Full Imprint, other manufacturing employers in the region. We have that industry, and so our learners are able to gain from this experience and develop more skills that is relevant to this job, as well as, like Emma said, also to their life. And trust is built through this really meeting regularly, discussing if they're listening to also the input that HR supervisors also see, right? Even though they may not be the people who are teaching in class, but they are the one that is socializing with these learners every day to work. So making sure that what are they seeing, what can we listen to that and inject that into the curriculum is also important, that trust. And then the shared investment in our employee success, right? Because we're all here to make sure, again, going back to our mission is to eliminate barrier and make sure every person has the literacy skills to thrive. So that is our main goal. And that is why this partnership works. Yeah, Emma, do you want to go to the next slide? So looking ahead, so we are currently just began our second year partnership with AMCO Oshkosh North, right? We started our second year in January again, so it's the whole kind of calendar year. So we're continuing to strengthen our employer education partnerships with AMCO, kind of strengthening in even like Emma said, right, where we started and where we are now, where our curriculum is a bit more specialized and also more skill building and capacity building. And then hopefully to support the long-term workforce development, right? We also have another programs at the Winnebago Area Literacy Council called Road to Work program. That is the program that we kind of work with the learners one-to-one to help them prepare for a resume, job interviews, etc. And another team member, Dr. Oksana, works with those learners. So is really a kind of holistic approach to the workplace literacy. And then, yeah, of course, we're always interested in site expansion, working closely with Diana to see if other AMCO plants are interested in replicating this program. The needs may be a little bit different, but we're, interested in exploring that. And I will address right now one of the questions. I think they were asking about the correctional institutions or something like that. It actually, in fact, Winnebago Area Literacy Council has been in conversation with the Winnebago County Jail to see if workplace literacy is an area that they would like to partner with us. So that is also another area that we're interested in exploring. So yeah, many avenues to take, and we're very excited. And if any of you are interested in, collaborating with us, please feel free to reach out. And maybe Emma, if you go to next slide, we may have information. Yes. So for workplace literacy curriculum consultation, right? Like if you wanted to see a more specific kind of details and examples of the curriculums that Emma created. So all of our curriculum and assessment are designed in-house. So we don't use any standardized tests or anything like that. Even our diagnostic tests are designed in-house by Emma. So if that's something that you're interested in getting consultation specific to your program, please feel free to reach out to me and Emma. We have our email addresses here. I can type that in the chat later too. And for any other general stuff, Emma, if you go to next slide. Yes, for any other questions or anything like that, you can also reach us out to us. Okay. Sometime English. at info@winlit.org as well. But yeah, so with that, we will wrap up our presentation here. We're right at 45 minutes, which is awesome. And we will kind of move on to your questions in here. Yeah, so Emma has the kind of, oh, is it from Wisconsin Literacy or I don't remember. Is it Emma? Okay. Yeah, so going back to our questions that we started out with at the beginning, where you are feeling with your workplace literacy program, if you currently have one, and your challenges and barrier, listening to us kind of talk through some of that. I know it's just that, we're just talking through things here, but if you want to put down a number of where you feel like where you are right now, right? Do you feel a little bit more comfortable about kind of thinking through some of those challenges that you may be having? So feel free to put a number in the chat as well, based on your comfortability. And oh, 4, that's great. We love to see a 4. So with that, maybe I will, Robin, if you're okay with that, I will kind of maybe go through some questions and invite our panelists to answer. Okay, all right, yes, and please continue to put in your questions if you have more. But let me go back up here a little bit, I think. Yeah, so I did see a couple of the questions on the same theme around the kind of the initial collaboration with the employers, right? Like how do we initially get connected with an employer like EMCO or other, employers in the area to start something like that, right? Here I'm reading, yeah, finding a new partnership, showing value in investing in employees. We've had the best luck with when Hire app is bilingual that can advocate for this type of investment to their employees. If not, partners have unrealistic expectations in the past. So I want to actually invite Diana to maybe speak on that a little bit. Diana, if you can. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. So I was not around in 2023 when the initial conversation started, but what I can say, starting shortly after in 2024, so we actually did a similar project called an Ally project with a lot of Dari and Swahili speaking employees. It was through a different center, but we saw success in that. Now, it wasn't necessarily on-site English classes, but it was more so creating an onboarding experience that was specific and tied to them and to their language, bringing on translators and things like that. So really, I think it's important for an employer to be able to identify those trends and to be focused on what the future vision is going to look like, right? So candidate pools are ever changing and we see different types of candidates all the time. And we kind of have to adapt to really what's out there. So if we're looking to bring people into the door to fill our open positions, we need to be able to adapt to what they need and want. So it's kind of going back to that initial realization where we saw that a lot of the candidates were non-English speaking. And so bringing this up to, our directors, we never really had to battle with it because it was kind of a no-brainer. Like, yes, we want our employees to be safe. How are they going to do that? It's via communication, right? So I think what also helped too is in the beginning of the partnership, it wasn't a contractual agreement, so we were able to kind of see the result, how the classes were going, really get feedback from the employees, the supervisors, people that are living it day in and day out. And so once we saw success from that, that's when we continued to agree and move to a contractual agreement too. So I think it's just important to get the right people in the right room and to not keep pushing and to really just continue to think about the outcomes and what the future state of doing a program like this is going to look like and really just keep pushing for it.
Great. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, that is a kind of balance to navigate, I think. Right. I think another questions for Emma, I guess I will direct that to Emma, is asking about specifically about how do you find materials or resources for, I guess, very, very beginner level, readers or learners, especially for workplace literacy.
Yes. So it's that's I feel like that's always the question that I get. Now, working with kind of like the foundations of reading and working with those like really beginning students is kind of where majority of my schooling came from, and it's where I live very comfortably. And I think as far as like finding the materials, that's kind of like unfortunately for me, but fortunate, I guess, for our organization, is that when I'm looking for materials, I have a hard time sometimes finding like that exact right thing, which is why I create so much of which is what I do, because I have used books and I have used things in the past. And if something is never exactly what I want, then I just make it. So then kind of became the norm for me. So then as far as like what I always want to see, like what do they need to know? And I find that I'm going to go back a little bit in my slideshow here and just kind of show like this like vocabulary builder again. This is something that I find incredibly accessible to anybody, and I feel sometimes people I will hear people say like, well, if they don't know how to um like read and write everything, how are you giving them these big words and these big terms? It's like, well, I'm not going to hide all of this away until they learn every single like phoneme and every single like phonological rule. Like that's not how we progress. So I want to show them things that they're going to see every now and then, and we're learning kind of how we decode throughout this, and we do break down words and stuff, and we do kind of use those foundational skills that they already do have, but I'm never going to wait until somebody has every single thing in there for us to get started on these bigger words, because they're going to see these words every day. So we should tell them what they mean. And they can start, as they kind of start developing the reading skills, they can see these words that they are familiar with and use that to help them decode other words. Or, like I said, when I was teaching with clothing, for example, we just started with clothing before we got to like actual clothing that you wear at work. So we were able to learn the word gloves, and now we can say chemical gloves. Now we can say like cut gloves level 7. Like we're able to take these now, and it has a place for it to hook onto because they know these things, and then we can build from there. I hope that answered that question a little bit. If you have more specifics on that, please let me know.
Yeah, yes. Please reach out to us. Emma, if you want to go ahead and type in our email addresses in the chat. Maybe one more questions. Robin, I think we stay up to until 2:15. Is that true or did I?
You do, but
Okay.
if you don't have enough material, I'm sure nobody would mind having an extra 15 minutes back.
Great. Yes, yes. I think I want to invite Diana to answer one more question because I think it's kind of important here. Has to do with maybe a potential unrealistic expectation from the employer, right? Because this is not like a college course. I think you already kind of maybe addressed that down there.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to speak a little bit more on that, yes, how, from the employer's perspective, what kind of progress and assessment you would prefer to see? And yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so I think that's a great call out. As an employer, I think we can set expectations that are maybe sometimes unrealistic. So what I have to do sometimes to really remind people is that the goal of these classes isn't always to, like, kind of how Emma was stating, like it's not necessarily for them to learn every single thing before we can get them to where we want them to be, right? I have a really good example. For example, I was out on the production floor just this past week. I saw like a chemical water bottle that was out of place. So I went to an English speaking colleague and I was like, hey, can you show me where this goes? It doesn't look like it belongs here. The English speaking employee like didn't really know where the chemical bottle was supposed to go, but nearby was one of our non-English speaking employees and he was listening to the entire conversation. He actually grabbed it from my hand and put it in its spot. Like that's a perfect example of how he was able to understand the conversation that we were having, even when I wasn't speaking to him directly, and actually took action on what I was asking the English colleague to do, right? So that to me exceeds all my expectations. It tells me that the non-English employee was aware of what I was saying. They knew where to put that chemical bottle safely, and they were able to just take action because they felt comfortable enough to do so. They felt confided in themselves that they knew what they had to do based on what I was asking. So I think a lot of the times it's just kind of having those conversations with other people within Amcor, like the supervisors and managers, saying like, hey, they might not speak 100% English like you and I do, but in what other ways are we seeing progress? And this is just one of those great examples. So, kind of like what was stated in the presentation, they do only meet once a week for 1 hour. So we need to keep that into consideration as well. I mean, I could try asking other people to learn a different language in that amount of time, and they probably wouldn't be able to, right? So we need to be realistic with that as well on the other side.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Yes, I think those are all the questions. But before I hand it back over to my propositions are all over the place. To Robin, I want to again thank you to Diana and also to Emma Iden. And as you can see, right, one of our biggest piece in the mission is also developing learner center programs. That also the reason why we develop this curriculum assessment in-house, because it is every learner is different and every program needs is different. So that's what we kind of found to be working for us. But we're happy to chat through any of you, talk through any of your program designs or anything like that. So feel free to reach out to us. And yeah, and thank you again back to the Wisconsin Literacy team for creating this space for this conversation. And back to Robin.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. This was really very informative and educational, and I'm sure that a lot of people in the audience got a lot out of this. So thank you to all three of you, Dr. Chu, Emma, and Diana. And thank you for all the participants who joined us today. This was Literacy in the Workplace, and our next session will be coming up at 3 o'clock, and that will be introducing English for Driving, Wisconsin Literacy's new curriculum. Now, when you leave this session, you will see a box pop up on your screen that asks you to take a closing survey, and we would ask you to do that. Your feedback is really important to helping us plan these professional development opportunities. So thank you again, everyone, and we will see you again at 3 o'clock. Bye-bye.